The UDRcast is not affiliated and does not represent any 12-step fellowship. I, Bill Ward, the host of the UDRcast, will be sharing my experience and my journey of recovery. That does include, but is not limited to, the literature contained in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps. Our guests will be sharing their own path to recovery and what has worked for them. The UDRcast encourages and supports all paths to recovery. Welcome everybody to the UDRcast. UDR stands for Uncover, Discover, and Recover. My name is Bill Ward, and I'm coming to you from the recovery capital of Canada, Calgary, Alberta. Here we are going to discuss everything recovery, different perspectives, different experiences, both with the people I know and with others from around the world. If you resonate with anything you've heard on this episode today, we ask that you share it with anyone who you think may benefit from it. If you have any questions or comments, please find us at BILLWARDLIFE and send us a message in the info section. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. If you are interested in more recovery content, you can find the buttons for the YouTube channel and other social media outlets on the homepage, and you will be redirected to those platforms. We can recover, one person, one family, one community at a time. So middle of 73. Middle of page 73. When we have finally admitted without reservation that we are powerless over alcohol, we are apt to breathe a great sigh of relief, saying, well, thank God that's over. I'll never have to go through that again. Then we learn, often to our consternation, that this is only the first milestone in the new road we are walking. So what it's saying, again, is admission of powerless over substance is the first milestone of a new road we're walking. This is like a lifetime journey of a fucking healing journey. That's what the steps do, is it heals us. And putting down the substance is like the barest fucking beginning of that. So this is only the first milestone on the new road we are walking, still goaded by sheer necessity, meaning we're still living in that pain of humiliation and humbling through pain, okay? Still goaded by sheer necessity, we reluctantly come to grips with those serious character flaws that made problem drinkers of us in the first place. So again, I'm a problem drinker because of my serious character flaws. And if I don't start relinquishing these flaws to God, I will fucking drink again. And remember at the end of step 6 when we did that, the moment we say no, never to working on these defects, our minds close against the grace of God. Delay is dangerous and rebellion may be fatal. This is the exact point which we abandon limited objectives and move towards God's will for us. So we have to fucking work on these serious character flaws, which must be dealt with, or we will retreat into alcoholism once again. And the first retreat is back into our mind, back into the thinking, back into the fear, back into the old behaviors. We will want to be rid of some of these defects, of course, because it makes sense. But in some instances, this will appear to be an impossible job from which we recoil. Some of them are fucking hard. And we will recoil from it. And we cling with a passionate persistence to others, which is just as disturbing to our equilibrium, because we still enjoy them too much. Maybe we don't even enjoy them too much, but they're so hard to let go because we have a lifetime of self-centeredness wrapped around them. And they won't just go because we want them to go, because they still give us a sense of ease and comfort. But it's all based in pride and ego, so it always needs more ease and comfort. How can we possibly summon the resolution and the willingness to get rid of such overwhelming compulsions and desires? And he has a question mark there. So anyone answer the question? God. Step 10. I'll take both those answers. Because through the step 10, you're doing God's will. And that's the answer, right? It's a step 6 question, essentially. How can we get rid of these fucking overwhelming compulsions? Think of that. And compulsion is deep down within, and it fucking drives you. And desires. And when we didn't do it in this study this time, reading the step 4 and the 12 and 12 is really fucking good for you guys. Especially the first page and a half, and understanding the first page and a half of the step 4 and the 12 and 12. Because it talks about the desires and how they drive us powerfully, blindly, and subtly. These things will drive us, dominate us, and insist upon ruling our lives, and often tyrannize us. And the tyrannized part is you're crushed by your own self-imposed crisis. And you can't duck it anymore because you fucking burnt your life down in that area, and you have no escape from it now. So the step 4 and the 12 and 12 is really important for you guys to read. And read it slow and take notes on what it is in you that you see in these pages. Normally I'll read that as part of step 6, but we didn't do it this time. Okay. So it's God that helps us get over these overwhelming compulsions and desires. But again, we are driven on by the inescapable conclusion which we draw from AA experience. That we surely must try with the will, or else fall by the wayside. If we don't try with God's will and fucking really dig in, we fall by the wayside. So at this stage of our progress, whatever stage you guys are at in your recovery, it's always the stage that this book's talking about. Doesn't matter what stage you're at. At this stage in our progress, we are under heavy pressure and coercion to do the right thing. And who gives us the heavy pressure and coercion? Okay? Well, God, yeah. Ourselves. Our outside influences, family, our children, our sponsor. Like, once we get some sobriety, we're under heavy pressure and coercion to fucking stay sober. To do the right thing. We are obliged to choose between the pains of trying and the certain penalties of failing to do so. And by not trying, we fucking drink. That's a certain penalty. But I'm going to kind of rewind these two lines, and I'm going to talk about it in other aspects of our life. At this stage of our progress, so me at 7 years, maybe at whatever year you're at, you're under heavy pressure and coercion to do the right thing. Not fall into your defect. Not to take that relationship. Not to fucking seek that money when you fucking know that it's not right for you right now, or whatever it is. You're under heavy pressure and coercion to do the right thing for your own recovery. We're obliged to choose between the pains of trying, not doing that thing, not taking that easy piece of tail, not fucking biting the bait of somebody's pride and fucking lashing out, and the certain penalties of failing to fucking do so. And in the small micro incident, like acting out in anger, as we fucking don't stay in alignment and do the right thing and we take the bait, there's certain penalties that follow us fucking lashing out in anger or acting out in lust. And these penalties come usually pretty quickly. And then it fucking blocks us off from God again. So these initial steps, the 6 steps, are taking fucking grudgingly. Because who wants to fucking do some of this, right? When everyone else is over here having fun and partying on fucking sobriety and fucking around, and you're over here by yourself taking this hard fucking road, that's fucking not fun. So these initial steps along this new road, this hard road, are taking grudgingly. Yet we do take them. We may still have no very high opinion of humility as a desired personal virtue because we don't fucking understand quite yet. Living in the step 6 humility and not fucking experiencing the step 7 humility, you don't even fucking know what that is yet. So to go down this road and not have a fucking carrot to bite on and have some fucking, results out of that, you don't know. That's why I always say it's like jumping off a cliff without a parachute and you don't even know if it's going to open. And that's where the value of like listening to a guy like me comes in, right? so that you fucking believe you, like I'm good at showing you I believe, man. And if you do this, there's the benefits. And what I really love about doing what I do is when I see people doing the fucking hard work and they're fucking learning, the fucking juice that it gives me, seeing somebody else just doing it, fighting through that shit, and fucking coming out the other side and fucking going, yes, right? Fuck, that's like the juice. Like I'm getting like shivers talking about it, right? That's the juice. That's what lights me the fuck up, man. But we do recognize it as a necessary aid to our survival. But when we have taken a square look at some of these defects and we have discussed them with another, so it's telling me that we should have a square look at what we're suffering from, what the defects are, and discuss them with others, because you can't see the truth on your own. And we have become willing to have them removed, even if you don't have the willingness to have it removed yet, whatever it is, you pray for the willingness until it comes. Our thinking about humility commences to have a wider meaning. By this time, in all probability, we have gained some measure of release from our more devastating handicaps. We enjoy moments in which there's something like some real peace of mind. To those of us who have hitherto known only excitement, depression, or anxiety, in other words, all of us, this newfound peace is a priceless gift. And that's a promise of humility right there. So there's another promise. A newfound peace is a priceless gift. No amount of money can fucking pay for peace of mind like we can have if we work for it. Something new indeed has been added. Where humility formerly stood for force feeding on a humble pie, now begins to mean the nourishing ingredient that can give us fucking serenity. Another promise. So it's giving you the fucking carrot right there. What used to be a force feeding on humble pie, step 6, now begins to mean the nourishing ingredient, which can give you the serenity. That pain and humiliation pays off. And in the step 9 promises, it talks about we now comprehend the word serenity. We will know peace. Comprehending the word serenity is a God experience. It's not an intellectual ideal of what you think it is. The experience of serenity is God experience. That's why I always say this journey of the steps is a God experience. And like, Robin talked about her experience and we've talked about other experiences. You can only learn what's in these literatures sometimes, in these books, by going through those experiences. And then when you read the black and white again, it fucking comes alive. That's how this literature comes alive.
You have to extract meaning from experience.
Extracting meaning from the experience, as long as you're willing to grow. And if you're not growing, the literature won't speak to you. Okay, so again, back to another good paragraph. This improved perception. So now we're starting to gain some momentum in our new version of humility. This improved perception of humility starts another revolutionary change in our outlook. Our eyes begin to open to the immense values which have come straight out of painful ego puncturing. And I always like to go, what's the synonym for values? I like to say character. So our eyes begin to open to the immense character building, which has come straight out of the painful ego puncturing. Until now, our lives have been largely devoted from running from pain and problems. We fled from them as from the plague. We never wanted to deal with the fact of suffering. Escape via the bottle was always our solution. Character building through suffering might be all right for the saints, but it certainly didn't appeal to us. Then in AA, we looked, we listened. Hang on. Then in AA, we looked, we listened. So in the program, everywhere you go, even in this room tonight, we looked, we listened. Everywhere we saw failure and misery. transformed by step 6 humility into priceless assets. We heard story after story of how step 6 humility had brought strength out of weakness, perseverance. In every case, pain had been the price of admission into the new life. But this admission price of pain purchases more than you expect. It brought a measure of humility, step 7 humility, that we soon discovered to be the healer of pain. Promise. Another promise. We begin to fear pain less and desire genuine humility more than fucking ever. That's the God dope. That is where you come over the hump. There's a hump in this growth where you are not fighting your defects anymore. And then you come over this hump and you know this other way is the way you want to go. And there's no going back. So it's an admission price. The pain is an admission price into a new life. It's not your old life. This is a new life. This is a God-conscious life. During this process of learning through pain and humiliation more about humility, the most profound result of all was our change in our attitude towards God. So it's talking the most profound result of all of what we've done in all of the program is this change in our attitude towards God. Because God becomes the fucking attitude. And then when you see the word attitude in the rest of the literature, when you're living with God as your attitude, love is the attitude, you'll see the word attitude in the literature and you'll know that the attitude means God. And you'll be able to fit God into that spot anywhere in the literature. And this was true whether we had been believers or unbelievers. Why? Because this isn't for people that want it or need it or intellectualize it. If you do it, whether you're a believer or a non-believer, through the action, this will be the result, period. And this was true whether it had been believers or unbelievers. We began to get over the idea that the higher power was sort of a bush league pinch hitter to be called upon only in an emergency. And we got to look at our own program and our lives. When do I call on God? Is God a bush league pinch hitter? Only to be called upon when I fucking need him. Or have I built a conscious relationship with him that's fucking all day long? So that's the difference.
Is that going from theory to action?
Yes.
It's from believing to knowing.
Yeah.
To knowing that.
There's no more theoretical in this. You fucking are trusting in God. For the first bit of your program, you had a belief. The belief is like a fucking, I believe that he believes. I believe she believes. I believe that I'm getting God shots. I have a bit of a belief. But then you try some action and then that belief turns into some faith. And through some of the faith with the track record of what you see happening in your life, then you can build trust. And through the trust, you will jump off the cliff without reservation and know that the parachute's going to open. But it's still scary because fucking we still don't know. But that's the attitude. Like, I'm not perfect at this shit, but most of my day I'm centered in God. And in the step 11 where it says having just made conscious contact with God, it's not probable that you're going to be inspired at all times. We may pay for this presumption and all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. But it says, nevertheless, we will find that our thinking will, as time passes, become more and more on the plane of inspiration. We'll come to rely upon it. And in that step 11, it talks about we pause when agitated or doubtful. We ask for the right thought or action. We relax. We don't struggle. We ask God. And we wait for the intuitive thought or action. What used to be a hunch or occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of your mind. And so as you go into life, like this is kind of my experience today, I go into life and I get the intuitive thoughts and actions and I don't fucking struggle with a lot of shit. I can work with multiple people in a day and I don't feel fucking exhausted because it's not fucking me. I'm intuitively fucking downloading and I'm fucking delivering messages that I don't even know where the fuck they come from. And,
I just had this.
right? And if anyone would spend a day with me, you would fucking probably get exhausted just being with me, fielding the calls that I fucking get. What are you fucking nodding at? Yeah, those two back there probably drain me more than anyone.
What do you expect of daughters?
Okay, let's keep going. To be called upon only in emergency. The notion that we would still live our own lives, no. That is exactly what it's saying on this page 72. We don't live our own lives. The notion that we would still live our own lives, God helping a little now and then, began to evaporate. Many of us who thought of ourselves religious awoke to the limitations of this attitude. Refusing to place God first, we deprived ourselves of his help. Circle that, underline that, read that every fucking day. Burn that into the consciousness of your mind, because when you refuse to place him first and foremost, you actually deprive yourself of his help. But now the words, of myself I am nothing, and the Father doeth the work, began to carry bright promise and meaning. And when I first read that, I was like, fuck, that sounds pretty shitty about myself. I'm nothing. But over the time of learning what that step 3 line says in step 3, being convinced that any life ran on your own self-will can hardly be a success, through recovery and the years of fucking understanding self, you'll become absolutely convinced on that line. And then you know, of myself, I fucking just hurt and destroy shit. With God in my life, I can fucking live a good fucking life. So, the Father doeth the work began to carry bright promise and meaning. We saw we needn't always be bludgeoned and beaten into humility. So you hear in the meetings, all these defects are never going to go away. I'm always going to have to struggle with them. I'm always going to fight. It's just going to be part of life. No, it ain't. That's bullshit. That's their experience. It's not my experience. It's not Barb's experience. And right here it says you don't need to be bludgeoned and beaten into it anymore. It can come quite as much from your voluntary reaching for it as it can come from the unremitting suffering. A great turning point. Here it is. Here's the turning point, and here's the hump from 6 to 7. A great turning point in our lives came when we sought for humility as something we really fucking wanted, rather than something we must have. It goes from step 6 to step 7. Rather than something we must have. It marked the time when we could commence to see the full implication of step 7. Humbly on our knees, holding nothing back, asking God to remove our shortcomings. So now a defect is your step 6, the shit that you've struggled with to let go, that you still think might serve you. And now you've said, no, I'm not there anymore. Now I'm fucking have a desire to do God's will, but I'm still human with fucking faults. And I have shortcomings. So when I acted out in different defects, like let's say lust and maybe using a woman that I didn't really want to use, but I did, and I kind of not rationalized it, that was my defect that I succumbed to. Now, in the same exact situation in step 7, I'm fucking honest, I'm integral, and I'm still human, so I still have the desires for sexual relation, emotional security, material security, companionship, and now I still seek a partner, and maybe it doesn't work out, but the fucking motive is fucking different. But to somebody who's viewing this, it looks like the exact same thing. But humility is in the beholder. The humility is within the person who's fucking walking the path. So no matter what somebody else says about what they view, that's just a reflection of what they're at. And you fucking continue to walk the walk and know that even though you might have made a mistake, but it's not a mistake. Because you got to live and you have shortcomings. And you still have anger and you still have some deep-rooted traumas. And these are going to come out in relationships still. And you're going to fucking do more growing and more learning. And really, if you have deficiencies in relationships with other human beings, the only way you can fix that is through another relationship with another human being. You can do a lot of work on your own, but in an intimate like partnership with another human, whatever your deficiencies are in that, you can only work on those in another relationship with another human. But hopefully it's somebody else who has like a desire to seek and do God's will too, right? Okay. You okay, Robin?
Yeah, my dad's here.
Are you're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Robin.
Call me later.
See you.
Okay. So that's the difference between a shortcoming and a defect. A defect, I'm still struggling with fucking letting go. A shortcoming is I have a desire, my motive is fucking way more pure, and I still may fall short because I'm human. So as we approach the actual taking of step 7, really important shit here. It might be, well, if we AAs inquire just once more what our deeper objectives are, and these are the deeper objectives for what we want. Each of us would like to live at peace with himself, for sure, and his fellows. So in the step 10, it says we've been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. You get placed in a position of neutrality within your own mind, safe and protected. And then you can place yourself in a position of neutrality within your peers, safe and protected. Why? Because you've worked the step 10 process. The step 10 process allows you to be placed in a position of neutrality, forgive yourself, work on those things, but it's a heavy component of step 6 when you're working it. But over time, it becomes a working part of your mind, and the process of it isn't as important because you're now living in a step 7 desire to do God's will. And so you don't need the actual exact process as much. You're now living the program. Does that make sense? We would like to be assured that the grace of God can do for us what we could not do for ourselves. We have seen, here it is, that character defects based upon short-sighted or unworthy desires are the obstacles that block our path towards these objectives. We now clearly see that we have been making unreasonable demands upon ourselves, upon others, and upon God. The chief activator of all of our defects has been self-centered fear. That's the core of fucking everything. Primarily fear that you would lose something you already possessed, or that you would fail to get something you demanded. Living upon a basis of unsatisfied demands, we are in a state of continual disturbance and frustration. Therefore, no peace was to be had unless we could find a means by reducing these demands. The difference between a demand and a simple request is plain to anyone. So the 7th step is where we make the change in our attitude. God's the attitude, which permits us with humility, a desire to seek and do God's will as our guide, to move away from ourselves, towards others, and towards God. So we're third on that list. Okay? It's others and God ahead of us, not us first. The whole emphasis on step 7 is on humility. It is really saying that we ought to now be willing to try humility in the seeking the removal of our other shortcomings, just as we did when we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So once you get to this hump and you get over that hump and you have a surrender, a lot of your difficulty and your defects, they fall away. Because you've surrendered to such a level that a lot of the shit that's been plaguing you, it just it just goes away. And now you work on a totally different plane. So our thought life will be cleared. Our thought life will be placed on a higher plane when it's cleared of wrong motives. So now our motives have been cleared and our thought life is placed on a higher plane because we're working closer with God with love. So it is really saying that we ought to be willing to try humility in the seeking the removal of our other shortcomings, just as we did when we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and came to believe in a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. The real sanity that we get restored to in this program is not running our lives. And that line, being convinced that any life ran on your own self-will can hardly be a success, keep an eye on that line over your recovery. You will see that as you understand self, and trust me, it takes a while to understand self. You will never understand self if you don't work the step 10 and work exactly what it says. You will live your life on intentions, and you will continue fighting other people, and you will not put yourself in a position of neutrality, because the fight is never with other people. Never. The fight is always with yourself. Never is the fight with anybody other than yourself. So if you're blaming somebody else for fucking something, point it to yourself, because it's in you. Always is. If that degree of humility could enable us to find the grace by which such a deadly obsession could be vanished, then there must be the same hope respecting any other problem we could possibly have. Any fucking problem you have can be solved by this relationship with God. Thank you for tuning in to the UDRcast. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. The viewpoints and the opinions expressed today were solely of the individual sharing them. If you resonated with this episode, please follow us and share this link with anyone that may benefit from it. Please visit us at BILLWARDLIFE to see everything that we have going on. We can recover, one person, one family, one community at a time.